A Link Between Worlds has some great dungeons, and going along with that, it also has some great bosses.
Yeah.
Now, we got some of the same bosses that we had in Link to the Past, but for being a sequel, they also introduced some new ones.
And on top of that, there were several fights from A Link to the Past that they just modified a little bit to make it feel fresh again in A Link Between Worlds, whether it's changing their appearance, or the way they attack us, or the way we attack them.
Now, what I thought was cool was it felt like we got to fight their ancestors in Link to the Past, and then come back hundreds of years later as a different incarnation of Link, and then kick their descendants' butts.
Well, I think those guys forgot to pass that knowledge
Yeah,
down.
no knowledge, no wisdom coming down from years past.
No. Well, the problem was they didn't have the paintings to tell the story.
Hyrule Castle? Well, you know, I don't think Zaganaga could really do it. Okay. He has no arms, man.
Now, please remember that this ranking is just our opinion. It's 100% subjective. We don't think there's any right or wrong.
There isn't. This is our Link Between Worlds boss ranking.
Let's go to the video. Like so many opening bosses in Zelda games, this fight just ends up being way too easy.
And the room was way too small, and then we got a huge obstacle right in the middle of the room.
I also didn't like facing like the main boss of the game this early on. It makes him seem very weak.
Now, one thing I did like was shooting the arrow across the room and then going to hit with your sword every single time.
And I also love getting to see merging with the walls for the first time.
Now, I wasn't a huge fan of bringing back the exact enemy that we had in Link to the Past,
me neither.
but I thought it was a nice upgrade.
I thought it was weird to fight a giant hamburger with extra lettuce.
Yeah, there's a ton of lettuce on him. But I thought the mechanic just was a little bit different. The tail seemed a little bit easier to hit this time around.
And also, it's a lot harder to get knocked off the edge. Now, this Yuga fight is a little bit of an upgrade over the first one, but again, it still suffers from being a little too easy.
And then also, we're kind of still in a small room, and then we had some obstacles again in the middle, and I was not a fan of that.
I did like the mechanic where Yuga splits into like 3 copies of himself, and you have to find the right one to attack.
I like the Hyrule soldiers right there because it's actually taking place in Hyrule Castle.
And I think both of his main attacks, like the fire coming out of the walls,
and
the
lightning right here, it reminded me of Aghanim from Link to the Past.
And I thought they just both looked awesome.
Argus! Jack Sparrow's favorite boss.
It's obviously not our favorite boss.
No, it's not. It's very low.
See, I thought an awesome dungeon deserved at least a boss that was something different from the Link to the Past version.
I just wish we had a different name. Like, they even use the same name as Link to the Past.
I really like this room we fight him in, though. Like, that water on the ground, I think, just looks really good.
It's very visual, and, like, one thing I didn't like, well, 2 things. The first 2 phases were exactly the same as Link to the Past.
I love that eye laser attack in the 3rd phase, though, and, like, the geysers of water that come out where the lasers hit. It felt a little weird fighting a giant plant at the end of the desert palace, but at least it looks like it's a cactus. So
yeah, but it's got the little flower or bloom on top, and you can just tell it's like a pissed off flower because there's obviously no water around to drink.
I thought it was really cool though that we got to fight this guy in Lorule, even though the desert palace was actually in Hyrule.
I thought this boss fight just used a sand rod really well, and I just love going from pillar to pillar and fighting him.
And that upgrade sand rod makes it so much easier though. The platform sticks around just a little bit longer.
You go down this guy too. This is an awesome looking boss right here with the purple and the black, and then the ice forming up around him.
And the platform we fight him on, I really like the detail with like the snowflakes on there. It looks really good.
I love how you got that big crater way down below you. You can still see all the way down there.
I really like the laser attack this guy unleashes, that triangle. It's so hard to dodge, but it looks really awesome.
How about some of the sounds that we got along with this boss fight? We got some of those laser sounds, and then also when he was moving, he kind of sounded like a spaceship.
And I like the way his ice shell gets smaller and smaller as we hit him with the fire rod. I didn't really think this boss was a great fit for the Skull Woods, but man, I like the look of the metal gauntlet and the sound effects it makes.
I love this punching attack right there, but he's got one issue. It's like Foreman versus Ali, and he's going to punch himself out.
Well, Link's playing a little rope-a-dope there, merging into the wall.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually.
And I like that, this is one of the few boss fights we could avoid his attacks by merging into the walls.
Yeah, if your stamina got low, though, and you had to avoid all those holes in the floor, that made this boss actually very difficult.
It did, and I tell you what, that eye in the middle of the palm of the hand, kind of creepy.
fighting on top of this still great with all this lava below you was just an amazing visual.
It really was, and I tell you what though, this turtle is not nearly as nice as the one that led us into this.
No, well, that was the mother. This must be the father right here. But I love this circling around right here and just trying to dodge that little fire shoot up, I guess.
Yeah. And then like when he pops up in the second phase and like he has like almost like exploding fireball attack, I thought looked.
And
really
then his snap attack at you. I really like that one.
For being in the Palace of Darkness, this was one really colorful boss.
And I love that about this boss fight. And then those torches right there to line up around the room was just awesome.
And how about the gems, both like on his armor and on the wall all the way around? It matches his name.
And then the rupees we got. We also got rupees in this boss fight.
And the purple glow and like his yellow glowing eyes when the whole room goes dark, I thought was just a great effect.
And then him just running around the room all crazy stuff. Like, even though you could merge into the walls, that was just a very intimidating part of the boss fight. This is a great new boss and a great new dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
And I just liked how the tornado rod was used to fly on top of him and then slash away his eye.
I loved how like as the fight progresses on, he adds more and more of these spinning discs and gets taller and taller.
I love knocking out the little layers that he has. It kind of took me back to Snowhead Temple and using Goron Link.
And how about the steam that's shooting out of him when he's spinning around the room? It's a little bit of a touch of technology.
Now, it's a good thing we can play this game in 3D because when he gets that tall right there, he can actually come off the screen at you. So.
Now, we consider the first two fights with Yuga to be a little bit of a letdown, but man, does this make up for it.
Well, his name's Ganon, first of all. Yuga Ganon, and that's what the Triforce of Power does.
It also makes him huge. I mean, it feels awesome to fight this big of a boss for the final boss.
And that trident right there just looks very cool, and then him throwing it right there was a great flashback to Link to the Past.
And speaking of flashbacks, I love how they brought back, like, deflecting the orbs. I thought it was a great thing to bring back.
And then the bow of light right here, and then like shooting it and merging into the wall, and then each time you had to use a separate strategy to beat him.
I love dodging him and then like merging back into the wall to shoot him from behind.
And then how about this last arrow right here that camera pans on? Just such an awesome sight right there, and just being Yuga Ganon for the finale. I mean, let's be honest with each other. The facial expressions make this boss right here. I just love when Link merged into his shield and like his like confused look, and then we attacked him from the back.
It's probably like my favorite individual moment from this game, and I think that's really what drove this boss fight all the way to #1 on our list.
How about swordplay? Like, he's actually just very talented with the sword.
Yes.
And also the sound effects and the marks in the floor that came along with that.
I like how they brought back like the detached spinning head. Thankfully, it was only 1 this time instead of 3 like Link to the Past.
Here are individual rankings. You can see that all over the board we're pretty close, but we actually only have 4 out of 12 exactly in the same position.
We did have it divided pretty well into tiers, so like we had the same in the top 3, and then like the middle 4 and the final 4 or 5 were very similar.
But for a handheld game, this has some really strong bosses.
Be sure to subscribe to us by clicking the red subscribe button. It will send you to our YouTube channel where you'll see we upload Zelda videos weekly.
You can also give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram, or check our Facebook page and give us a like.
If you click on the video on the left, you'll be taken to our A Link Between Worlds dungeon ranking. The video on the right will send you to our top 10 Zelda bosses.
Or click at the bottom to be sent to a playlist of all our ranking videos.